May 9th, 2013. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 19 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome once again to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. My name is Mark Duvall, and as usual, I'm here with Dr. Mike.
Hello.
And Mike, we got recognized out at the casino, sort of.
Yeah, in an unusual way. We're always recognized.
Right. We were standing there playing craps, and one of the pit bosses came up to us.
Right.
One who had seen us many times.
Yep.
And he said, "Hey, did you guys used to deal?" And we said, well, not in a casino. We've never done it really professionally.
Not for real money.
But we used to deal for casino parties. We worked for a company, that would host a casino party, and we dealt craps and blackjack and what have you.
Right. It's kind of like a college job.
Yeah, right, exactly. You'd get back then it was like $40 for a night for like $4 worth of work or 4 hours worth of work. But anyway, he said, yeah, you guys used to work for casino nights. And sure enough, this pit boss.
He had worked for them too.
And you said you kind of.
Yeah, he always, from the first time I saw him, which was several years ago, he always looked familiar. And you know how it is, you see somebody and you can't really place where you know him, but then you think, oh, I just know him because I've seen him here.
Yeah.
And, it kind of bugged me, and then I just never really thought much about it. But I would always stare at him thinking, now, where do I know that guy from?
Yeah, it turns out we dealt with him.
We dealt with him.
Possible we dealt at the same table with him at some time, yeah.
Yeah, and, he's kind of a tall guy. So once he mentioned that, I do remember a tall guy that, him dealing.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. What are the odds?
Yeah.
Didn't help us at the casino.
No, it didn't. He, continued his life by actually going into the business and making money. We continued our lives just gambling and losing all our money.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I don't know who took the better life path.
I think we did.
I think so
we're
too.
Doing all right.
I think so too. I wouldn't want to work at a casino all day.
It's smoky.
That'd be terrible.
It's just fun to go there, lose a little, and go home.
Yeah. Well, that same night, we were playing craps, of course, and Ron, one of our favorite dealers out there, he was trying to get the stick's attention to make one of the prop bets.
Right. Somebody had bet some money.
Right. On his side of the table.
On his side of the table. The stick was kind of, I don't know what they were doing. They weren't paying attention.
No,
really.
Right.
And so he kept saying over and over, they want a horn high ace deuce.
$5 horn high ace deuce. $5 horn high ace deuce. And the stick, was never hearing him or whatever, booking it. And, everybody at the table started laughing because Ron just kept going, $5 horn high ace deuce.
He must have said it 10 times.
So we were laughing about that. And a couple of rolls later, Mike said, hey, Mark, you should make a $5 horn high ace deuce bet. And I never bet the prop bets.
Oh, I've never even seen you make that bet in 30 years. I haven't seen you make that bet.
I don't think I've ever thrown out a horn or a world or anything like that. So, we were winning and I looked down, I had a $5 chip and should I? All right. Well, I threw it in and
you yelled real loud.
Yeah, $5 horn high ace deuce. So, for those who don't know, it's a terrible bet with a huge house edge, but what you're betting on, a horn bet is basically 4 separate bets on the 2, 3, 11, and 12. And when you say horn high ace deuce, that means bet a little more, a little extra on 3 ace deuce.
So you give them $5.
$5 instead of 4.
Yeah, and you've got $2 on the ace deuce and $1 on the 2, the 11, and the 12.
Right. So I throw it in. $5 horn high ace deuce. So the next roll came up, ace deuce.
Ace deuce. God.
And so I said, bring me down, which nobody ever does.
Nobody ever does that. They always... if anything, they press it up 5. They'll collect and they'll make it a $10
But certainly they'll at least leave it out there.
Right.
But, it's a bet I don't make, and now I won it. So I'm not, I said, bring me down. They said, bring him down? Yeah, I bring it down. So they gave me.
And it didn't come up after that either.
Right.
The next roll was a number.
Yeah, it made it good. So what? I got $32 back, for the 5 that I put in there. So
right. You got you got 32. So you got $27
profit.
Plus your 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So you were telling me about an article you saw in the newspaper yesterday.
Yeah, there was an article in yesterday that would have been Tuesday, the 7th?
May 7th. Yeah.
May 7th, yeah, in the San Diego Union Tribune. And it was basically in the business section just talking about how gambling's on the uprise.
Yeah.
And the casinos are doing better. And, it's said that casino revenue jumps 4.8% last year, which would explain why, like, Harrah's Rincon has been giving us less free vouchers, free money.
Yeah. Oh, it's significantly less from what we got, say, like 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah, definitely
For
less.
sure, yeah.
Of course, their income was probably down. They were trying to get people there, especially people like us who will gamble.
Yeah.
But, since income's probably going up, they're probably doing better, so less need to give more away, I guess.
Maybe.
But what kind of interested me the most about the whole article was that towards the end of the article, it says here that more than 76 million Americans visited a casino last year. Fine dining was the most popular non-gambling attraction. While more than a quarter of all casino patrons never or rarely gamble when they visit a casino. Now that got me, more than a quarter?
More than a quarter. That seems high.
So more than 25% of the people visiting a casino either don't gamble or gamble like extremely little.
Yeah. I wonder what that means, rarely gamble.
Right.
Because, 25%, that seems high.
Gosh, if they had said 10%, I would have thought, okay, I can see that. There's 10% of the populations that are pretty screwed up. But more than 25%.
I wonder if it's, like spouses that come along and don't play, go do something else, or
there are some situations, like I know my parents being elderly, and my dad loves to gamble. So, when he goes, he pretty much always gambles.
Right.
But there have been times when him and my mom have just gone to the closest Indian casino here, which happens to be Saquon, to their house, and just have a buffet.
Yeah.
And they just don't have time, or my mom doesn't want to hang around for hours while my dad, plays poker or something. So they go home. So maybe that includes people like that. And there could be a lot of people who go for the buffets.
Yeah.
And that would be more local stuff.
More local. I'm thinking more like, okay, people who take trips to Las Vegas. Because certainly there are plenty of people who go to Las Vegas and don't gamble.
Right. Well, they have a convention.
Right. Or a wedding. Or
there's some like occasion. That. Right.
Yeah. So, maybe that's the bulk of it where,
But it says visit the casino.
Yeah. Well.
Casino patrons is what
casino patron. I guess that would
that
also
be somebody staying there, or does that mean somebody who actually goes there to gamble?
I think it would be somebody staying at the hotel that has a casino. They probably include as a casino patron. Okay, I guess. But it still does seem high. I guess it's
even with that, it just semes like 25% is too high.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, who knows? Yeah, what do we know? We're not taking the survey, but yeah, I'm trying to think of different, because like when the local casinos around here. The tribal casinos, I'm sure they get more locals than anything else. Whereas strip casinos in Las Vegas, they're getting more tourists than anything else.
Right. And they get people like, I know my wife has some relatives that their children kind of live around the country, and they meet once a year in Vegas as a meeting point. Right. Yeah. So, there's lots of hotels and stuff, and they all go to Vegas and they spend the weekend together, and they may not gamble. It could be people like that.
Well, Mike, they do say in this article that a lot of the data that they got was from non-tribal casinos. And maybe that 25% is also from non-tribal.
Could be.
So they're not counting, a lot of these tribal casinos.
Yeah. Because at the tribal casino, you'd have to be gambling.
You'd think so,
Why else would you go there?
Right. A lot of them don't have hotels or, Right. But, so we're only talking about, Vegas casinos.
Yeah, and they're probably,
Riverboat,
right, and they're probably
Atlantic
doing
City.
the survey on the Strip.
Right.
They're not doing it on like a locals casino in Vegas. Right, where most people are there probably gambling.
Yeah.
They're probably doing it on the Strip. And a lot of people go on the Strip are there for some convention or some meeting.
Yeah.
And they might not be gamblers. That's just where their convention is.
That's where they are, yeah. Well, it doesn't really say where they got this figure from. They do quote, they have some money that they're talking about, which is from, what is this here? It says AGA. American Gaming Association is where they got some figures showing that the gaming's on the rise. I wonder if AGA also provided this, 25% don't gamble at the casino typically. Anyway, it's interesting. It's
interesting because it just seems so high to me.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. All right. Well, our poker home game segment this week is going to be the game Bloody Sevens. Now, as you remember, poker home game segment is where we talk about games that you're not going to play at a casino, but that you might play when you get together with your buddies just to play a poker home game. And the reason we picked Bloody Sevens this week, that tournament that we talked about on our last episode, the charity tournament, we got to talking to some people at the table, and one of the guys said, "Oh, you have a weekly home game. Do you ever play Bloody Sevens?" Yeah. And I said, "Oh, yeah, we've played that before." So we thought, "Oh, we'll talk about it on the next episode."
It's funny when he mentioned that. I was kind of going through my head and thinking, really? I mean, other people play that? I thought it's such a unusual game.
It is obscure.
I thought maybe we were the only ones who played it.
Like one of us had created it
yeah.
It's like long ago.
Because a lot of the games that we play are games we created or games that were around, but we put a bunch of twists to it and call it something different.
Yeah.
So, Paul's famous for making up a lot of these games.
Right.
So it just in my mind, I just always assumed Bloody Sevens was something we came up with.
Well, apparently not. I've seen it online. It's not like a super popular home game, but other people play it. And we'll talk about the way that we play it, and hopefully it's close to how some other people play it. So it is a pot game, and we've talked about pot games before. This is not a game where you have traditional betting in like a regular traditional poker betting. So you don't have like bets and checks and raises and that kind of thing. Instead, everybody throws some money into the pot initially, and you're just playing for that pot. And here's how it works. Everybody gets 5 cards down, and 7s are wild. And starting with the person to the dealer's left, he looks at his cards and he decides whether he's going to stay in or fold. And he's playing for the pot. If he folds, he just folds and that round is over for him. If he stays in, he is basically risking the amount of money in the pot to get the pot.
Right.
So if there's like $10 to start the pot, he's risking $10 to win that $10 if he says that he's going to stay in. 7s are wild. He looks at his cards. If he says that he's in, he declares how many cards he's going to draw. It's a draw game. So maybe the first person looks and he's got like a pair of 7s and an ace or something like that. And he says, "Okay, I'm going to stay in and I'm going to draw 2.
Yeah, he's going to keep the ace and the 2 7s.
Right, something like that.
He's got 3 aces.
Right. And then it goes to the next person who, again, has the same option, fold or stay in and declare how many cards he's going to draw. That goes all the way around the table. Then once everybody has declared whether they're in or not, everybody flips their cards up. And then, again, starting with the player to the dealer's left, everybody gets their draw cards straight off the top of the deck. Now, here's what makes the game interesting. We said that 7s are wild. However, if you draw a 7, your hand is dead. You're out. You lose. So those wild 7s, they're only wild if you get them as part of your original 5 cards. If you draw a 7 off the deck, your hand is dead. You lose.
Yeah, hence the name Bloody Sevens.
Right. Then once everybody has their hand, whoever has the best poker hand and didn't draw a 7 wins the pot. And whoever lost has to match the pot for the next deal. So again, if we had like $10 in the pot to begin with, and 3 players were in, one player would win the $10, and the 2 losing players would have to put $10 in for the next pot. So the next pot would be $20.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So it can get quite big.
Yep. And the game continues. The button moves.
Right. You have to move the button. It's important to note that, because if this same person's first action every time, they're at a disadvantage.
Right.
You're at a huge advantage to be, on the button and go last.
Right. And in fact, we have a rule where if you are the last player and everybody has folded to you, you don't automatically win the pot. You have to already have, I think we said like a pair of aces.
You have to have a pair of aces,
or
a natural pair of aces.
A natural pair of aces or better.
Without the 7s. It
Right.
just has to be a natural pair of aces.
Right.
Then you can flip your cards up and you won.
Right.
However, if you don't have that,
if you don't have that, you're
redealt.
just out.
We redeal.
Yeah. So we do have that rule. The game ends when everybody folds except one player, and he does not get dealt a 7 off the deck. See, that's another thing that makes this game interesting, right? You could have a round where nobody wins.
Right.
Right? If one person stays in, he's the only one and he's drawing 2, and one of those 2 cards turns out to be a 7, he loses, he matches the pot, and we redeal again. Nobody won that round.
Right. It may seem obvious to say this, but just in case somebody doesn't quite understand, the way that could happen is if somebody who, let's say, was the second person to act says, oh, I'm going to stay in and I'm going to draw 2.
Right.
Okay. Then everyone else folds and he ends up being the only one in. He still has to draw those 2.
Right.
Now, if everyone folds to the button and the last person says, okay, I'm going to stay in, he has to show a pair of aces or better.
Right.
But he doesn't have to draw any.
Right.
He can just say, I'm going to play this.
Well,
right? He'd be stupid to draw.
He can't even draw.
Right.
I mean, that's our rule, right?
Yeah.
When it goes all the way around.
Yeah. So there is a way that the game can continue without, with somebody with only one person in.
Right. And, for the next pot, the only money that goes in comes from people who lost the previous hand. So in other words, at least we don't play it where everyone has to ante every time. You could play it that way.
Right.
Right. And again, I don't know if I mentioned it, but, at the beginning of the game, you decide how much you want everybody to contribute to that original pot. Obviously, people have to put money in at the beginning, but whether they have to contribute every hand or not, that's kind of up to you. We don't play it that way because the pot can get big.
I think if you're going to ante every time, you'd want to start with a small initial.
Yeah.
We always start with $1, so there's $7 or $8 in there right off the bat.
Yeah, right. So. This game definitely plays better with more people. If you've only got, say, 5 people, you could very easily the game could end right away. Somebody has 2 7s. Maybe they say, I'm not going to draw any, right? I've got 2 of the 7s. Right. The most anybody else can have are 2. I'm just going to stay like this, and then everybody folds. I think 2 people who start playing, it works better with novices because they're more likely to stay in. It's the kind of game where if you don't have a 7, you should probably fold unless you've got a pat hand like a straight or full house or something.
Right.
Because they're just so powerful, those wild cards.
Yeah.
And so in order to keep the game going, you need either a lot of people or you need people who aren't as familiar with the game who are going to stay in when maybe they shouldn't.
Yeah. Ideally, the best thing is you have, say, 7, 8 people playing, and the 7s are distributed out pretty evenly. So, you got 4 people each with a 7.
Yeah, right.
And you're going to get, 3 or 4 people staying in.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. One rule that we implemented to try to get more people to stay in, because once we played this a lot, we found this was a problem, was that, everybody was folding to one person and, you'd only go one round and the game would be over. We decided what we'd do is we would use a double deck of cards, so 104 cards altogether, and we would deal 2 hands to each player.
Right.
And so going around, you'd look at your first hand. You couldn't look at both hands right away. You could only look at one hand, and then you decide whether you're going to play or not or fold. So, if you've got like 7 players, that's a total of 14 hands that, people are looking at, and they can look and decide if they're going to draw or stay. That we were getting a lot more people in.
Oh, a lot more people.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I was talking about. That's how we've taken all these games and we alter them in some way to make them more interesting or to last longer. I mean, how many people around the country who play Bloody Sevens? And there's probably not that many, but of the ones that do, how many of them play with 2 hands each?
Probably not.
Probably not. Probably just us.
But yeah, that happens at our poker game, right? We like more action.
Right.
And if we find a game that's kind of dying because people just aren't playing,
we spice it up.
We spice it up. We put in new rules, right?
Right. It's like when, Jack in the Box came out with their taco.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm sure initially, I don't know this for certain, but I'm sure it was probably a regular taco. And then somebody said, let's fry that baby up and make it as greasy as possible.
Right.
Huge hit.
Yeah, huge hit. Let's put in stuff that might be meat, but it's more of like a paste.
Yeah.
What is it?
There's no real name even on their menu. It just says,
It says taco, but yeah.
Taco paste.
It doesn't say beef taco.
No, it doesn't say beef. They can't call that beef.
No.
But it tastes great. Yeah. And I mean, you have to order it too. Yeah. I mean, you're almost obligated to
They're
for a buck.
They're so cheap. How could you not order it with every meal that you make? Yeah. And so we try to spice up our games. And in this example where we deal, from a double deck and 2 hands, one of the rules that we also have is that if you draw a 7, if you're playing both hands, if you draw a 7 on either hand, both of your hands are dead.
Both your hands are dead too. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
So that made it, that makes it good.
Well, the great thing about the game is there's enough twists in it that I mean, it's just, you can be so high with your hand and then just get hammered.
Yeah.
And somebody with a very mediocre hand ends up winning. I mean, you're not happy when you're on that end.
No, but
it's fun.
everybody else loves it.
Everyone else
Oh
loves
man, people love it when somebody else draws a 7.
Yeah.
You don't like it when it happens to you, but when it happens to somebody else, that's what makes the game fun.
Yeah. And that's, for us too, at our poker game, you have to have a thick skin.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you better have a thick skin. If you don't take losing real well, you probably don't want to play at our home game.
I think that's true of a lot of home games.
Yeah,
I think
I'm
there's
sure.
a lot of abuse that gets, and ours isn't as bad as others.
Oh no, I'm sure
get-
there are others that are a lot worse.
Our friend Bill, who's in our game, he has another game.
Right.
And to hear his stories, I mean, it's just constant abuse all night long, just a barrage of insults and profanities. So
I think we're too old for that anymore. I think
Maybe.
we've gotten to the point where we can't keep up the abuse for long enough.
That's right. It's just too tiresome. I'm just going to be nice to everybody now. Anyway, that's Bloody Sevens. Don't forget, if you've got a poker home game that you'd like to tell us about and we could talk about on the show, drop us an email. You can bet on that at gmail.com. All right, so this episode, we are going to talk about Keno. Keno, a game that's kind of like the lottery, kind of like bingo.
Kind of like a slot machine in a way.
A little bit.
Yeah. It's a dying game.
It is a dying game. And yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit.
Which is sad because as bad as much in the house edge there is in Keno, which is extreme.
Yeah.
It is kind of fun to play.
Well, what makes it nice is that you can play it while you're eating. I mean, that's kind of what has kept it alive. Right. And I'm not talking about Keno on machines, but Keno with Keno Runners where they actually,
in a restaurant.
Right. And they have the balls in the bubble and, they draw the balls. Well, it's nice because, you can just sit there. You're about to order, and it's like, I'll fill out a Keno sheet.
Right. You can play it the whole time you're eating, which we usually do.
Yeah, you can play for just $1 if you want. You can do it cheap, or whatever you want to do.
You know what's funny in Vegas too? They'll have Keno in most of the cafes.
Yeah, like the coffee shops.
Shops and stuff. The lower end eating establishment, they'll never have it in the steakhouse or anything. Yeah. And why not? I mean, you're in a casino, right?
Yeah. I guess, I don't know.
It's always kind of bugged me. I mean, and for years we wouldn't eat in the steak place because, we wanted to play Keno.
That's right. Well, yeah. And a lot of these higher end places, like I don't think Venetian,
they probably don't even have
Palazzo.
Keno.
I don't think they have Keno. I don't think Wynn Encore has Keno.
No, I'm sure they don't. A lot of, they have Keno on slot machines.
Right. They have the machines, of course. Yeah.
They have machines that play Keno. And some of them, didn't they have a Keno Lounge or something at Venetian?
I don't think so.
Really?
I don't
Not
think
even a lounge.
I don't think they have it at all.
I know they don't have it in any of their restaurants or anything.
Yeah. Well, don't write us about that because I'm going to check after the show.
Okay.
But I really don't, because we've talked about it before when
I haven't
we've been
seen
there.
it.
I've never seen it. No. But
it's not like we spend a lot of time walking around the casino. No. It's usually a beeline to the craps table.
Yeah, but seriously, if they're going to have a Keno Lounge, then they'd offer it in their restaurants for sure, or at least in.
You would think
they have the Grand Lux Cafe, which is at Venetian, right? And that's the closest.
We've eaten there quite a bit.
Yeah,
and there's no Keno.
There's no Keno, and that's the closest thing to a coffee shop they have, right? So if it's not there, it's not going to be anywhere.
Sure.
Yeah. But anyway, here's how Keno works, and you've probably seen it before. But basically, there are 80 numbers that are each of the numbers 1 through 80 are on balls that they have in a big hopper, kind of like a bingo machine. And out of these 80 numbers, for each game, the house draws 20 of these balls. And you can play by filling out a Keno sheet, which has all the numbers 1 through 80 on it. You can play by picking a certain number of those numbers and betting a certain amount of money. And then depending how many of your numbers get picked by the casino, you'll win a certain amount of money. Now, that sounds kind of vague. I said a lot of certain amount, certain number of numbers. This is what makes Keno kind of nice compared to, say, a lottery or bingo. You can actually decide how many numbers you want to select. You can select just one number.
Right. And a lot of people do. They play one number they like and they just play it all the time.
And that's it. Or you can pick 4 numbers, or you can pick 8 numbers. And
all the way up to 20.
Right. Mm-hmm. And all when you're playing Keno, you'll either be in a lounge typically or in the restaurant, and there will be a brochure there that shows you how much money you'll win depending on how many of your numbers were drawn in the game. And it's as simple as that. And I printed out a kind of a typical Keno table here. So typically, if you only pick like one number, say the number 7, and they draw, 20 numbers, and sure enough, 7 comes up, you'll win $3 for the dollar that you bet. Well, you get $3 back. Your profit will be $2.
$2, right.
Right. So there, you can see right there how significant the house edge is, right? Because you should be getting $4 back, a $3 profit, but instead you're only getting 3, right? Huge house edge.
Huge house
almost edge. All of the, with the Keno pay tables, it's well over 20% house edge.
So on just people who play numbers, say 1 number, 2 number, 3, 7, 8, whatever, what do you think would be the funnest amount of numbers to play?
I think a lot of people play 8 spots,
right?
Just because that's where kind of the top payout starts is like 8.
7 and 8 is what I've found that people play.
I always like playing 4 for whatever reason.
I play 4 and I play them away ticket.
Yeah, and we'll talk about away tickets in a little bit. But yeah, for example, if you take a 4 spot, that's where you on the Keno slip you pick 4 numbers. If 0 or 1 number comes up, you don't get anything. If 2 numbers come up, you get your money back. If 3 numbers come up, you get $2, so a profit of $1. And this is just an example here on the sheet that we have. If 4 numbers come up, you get $120, so $119 profit. Now, these payouts, I'm just using examples. That's the other thing, too. From casino to casino,
varies widely.
These pay tables can vary quite a bit.
Yeah.
And like Mike said, you can typically bet anywhere from 1 to 20 numbers. I think it's really more like 1 to 15 numbers. And then they have a special 20 spot.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think I've seen like a 17 number.
Yeah. I'm sure there's some casino somewhere that does it.
I'm sure. Yeah.
But 1 through 15. Now, they do also have kind of special tickets. And this 20 spot that Mike was talking about is one of those examples. If you pick 20 numbers, then the pay table is a little different in that you will not only get paid if a lot of your numbers come up, you'll get paid if very few or none of your numbers come up. And for a 20 spot, for example, if you get none of your numbers, you pick 20 numbers and none of them come up, you get $500. Or we've even seen $1,000.
I've won $1,000.
Yep. Now, the way that you lose on a 20 spot is if you hit 4, 5, or 6 numbers.
Right.
And that happens a lot.
Yeah. Mostly you hit 4 or 5 numbers.
Yep. And they have every casino will have their, all sorts of special cards. They have cards where you pick a top-bottom card. That is, the numbers 1 through 40 are on the top of the card, and the numbers 41 through 80 are on the bottom of the card. And if you play this top-bottom card, depending on how lopsided the draws are, like if you get a lot of numbers on the top and only a few on the bottom, then you'll win a certain amount of money.
Right. Let's say of the 20 numbers they draw, 18 are on the top and 2 are on the bottom.
Yep.
And then you win, $1,200.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas if it's fairly evenly distributed,
right.
10 on top, 10 on the bottom, 12 on top, you win
8
nothing.
On
the bottom, you win nothing. Yeah. So there are a lot of different and every casino will have things like that, gimmicky.
Right. They divide them left and right, top and bottom. You can divide them columns and rows.
Yep. Now, one of the things that's very popular to do, and this is kind of confusing, and I hope I can explain it well, but when you sit down and you're looking through the brochure, they talk about way tickets, and it can be a little confusing. But basically, all a way ticket is, it's a way to play multiple tickets on the same card.
Yeah, and a lot of times, all the possible ways.
All the possible ways.
So if you have I typically play a four spot way. So I'm taking 4 numbers. I'm playing each of them individually.
As a 1 spot ticket.
So it's like I bought 4 1-spot tickets.
Right.
And then I'm playing all the combinations of 2.
Right. So of the 4 that you've picked, you're playing all the combinations of 2 of it. Right.
Which happens to be 6.
6, right. Mm-hmm.
So there's 6 2s to play.
Out of the, yep.
Then I'm playing all the combinations of 3.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 4 of those.
Right.
So I'm playing 4 tickets of 3 numbers.
Yep.
And then I'm playing the 4 all 4 numbers as one ticket.
As one ticket,
And there's one of those.
Right.
So it turns out there's 15 different ways.
Right.
And so you pay $15, you're playing $1 each way.
Right. And another nice thing about way tickets too is whereas typically when you're playing Keno at a Keno Lounge or in a restaurant, the minimum is $1. But if you play a way ticket, they'll let you play each way typically for less than that minimum.
Right. So a lot of times as low as 10 cents.
Yes, exactly. And I've seen some that are as low as a penny.
Right.
If you're playing that one ticket where it's like 180 different ways.
Right. You can play
penny.
it for a penny. So it's like $18.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. We'll describe it one more time and we'll use a really easy example to really show you how a way ticket works. Let's say you pick 2 numbers, just 2 on a sheet, and you want to play all the ways possible with those 2 numbers, right? Well, you're playing the 2. That's one ticket.
Right.
Then to make it even simpler, let's say the numbers that you picked were 6 and 27, right? So you're playing one ticket, a 2 spot with 6 and 27. You're playing a 1 spot with just the number 6 and another 1 spot with just the number 27. So you're playing 3 ways on that ticket.
Three tickets, basically. You're marking it on one.
And you only have to use one sheet to mark it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So did you ever ask yourself, why does Mike always play a 4-spot way ticket and then a 20-spot special ticket?
Have I ever asked why you consistently do that?
Consistently every time.
No, I've never asked.
Because the way ticket is $15.
Yeah.
And the 20 spot is $5.
Usually it's a little more expensive.
It's a little more expensive, and there's it's the least you can go is $5.
Right.
So it's $20. It's easy to pull a $20 bill out of my pocket and bet that.
I never thought about that. Well, that's fantastic.
But that's why I do it that's what I play every single time.
Well, it's funny.
I never play anything different.
And you're like the king of the 20 spots too, because
I've hit quite a few.
You've hit 0 twice, which is pretty astounding, really, because it's not like we play it all the time.
Oh no!
And when have we
in
played
recent years? We haven't played hardly at all.
No, because some of the places we've stayed, they don't have. They don't have it. Yeah. But I remember you. I think you hit one downtown at Four Queens. And I can't remember. I think that one paid.
That paid $1,000.
That paid $1,000.
I think the Four Queens paid $1,000.
I think you might be right. And then
somewhere else I hit $500.
Like Flamingo, maybe
something like that. It was a strip casino.
Yeah, and you were playing a 20 spot. You got 0, and 0 hits. And
way
and
back in the day, we
in.
went to Four Queens quite a bit.
Oh yeah,
we liked Four Queens. They comped us really well. We were in that mode where we liked being downtown because we could just walk out the door and right into another casino.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and we played a lot at Four Queens, but we also played a lot at Golden
Nugget.
Yeah, we liked Golden Nugget a lot, and they took good care of us.
Yeah, and we'd go across and play craps at Binion's Horseshoe too.
Yeah, right. And we
back
liked
when they had 100 times odds and dollar minimums. Yeah,
right,
those days are gone.
Those are good. Yep. But we were at Four Queens. We haven't been to the Four Queens in quite a few. We keep talking about going back.
I know, and then we just stay on the strip.
Yeah.
We'll do it here soon. Yeah. Tell them about when you went with your dad to the Four Queens, because we used to go so often.
Mark and I used to go so often. And so then my dad went with us.
Went
with me. Yeah, just him and I. And we would go to the coffee shop at the Four Queens, Mark and I'd eat. And there was this one Keno Runner lady. She had a huge, deep smoker's voice.
Oh yeah. It was like Lucille Ball in her later years.
Yeah. It was just really raspy. And she looked at me like she was 80. She's probably, 48 or something, right? But she looked very old. Anyway, Mark and I went enough that she knew me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I would always play that same, 4 spot with the 20 spot.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there with my dad, and she walks up. How you boys doing? And I'm like, oh, hi. And I hand her my thing, and she said, the usual. And then she walked away, and my dad looked at me and said, what'd she say? And I didn't want to, he can't hear that well. I didn't want him to hear that, Mark and I are going so often that she knows what I play. So I said, oh, Dad, she said that's unusual because the way I bet. And he just,
oh, okay.
And okay.
Because we were going, this was before either one of us was married, and we were going, like sometimes once every 2 weeks, to Vegas. So we were over there
and always staying at the Four Queens, and she's the usual.
Oh, that's unusual.
Oh God, that. She was, I doubt if that woman's still alive, but.
Yeah, probably. You're right. She might not have been that old, but it looked like it was a tough life.
It took life would have been rough to her. But I'll say this, she was one of the nicest people. She was always
very
super
nice.
courteous, very nice.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, we had a lot of good Keno stories. I was in a Keno Lounge once. Or no, I was in the restaurant playing Keno, and there was an old man and woman sitting at the booth next to ours. And the Keno Runner came by, and she came to our table and took our tickets. Then she went to his table, and he had played the game before. And all he said to her was, she said, play it again. They always come by, you want to play that ticket again when you don't win? Because they know ahead of time whether you've won or not. They have a little cheat sheet.
Right.
So the Keno Runner said to the old guy, play it again? And he said, yeah, but this time, take the gum off my balls.
What?
And that's all we heard. We're eating about choking to death when we hear this. I mean, the guy had to be like 85 years old and take the gum off my balls. And she looked at him like, what? What he was alluding to is the fact that the balls spin around in that hopper thing, and then they suck one up at a time.
Right.
He was alluding to the fact that maybe the balls he picked had gum stuck to them, so they were staying in the hopper and not coming up into the winning circle or whatever.
So he probably didn't even realize what he was saying. He just thought he'd say something cute. Yeah, take the gum off my balls. But you hear from some old man telling a young Keno Runner.
She was this young, really good-looking Keno Runner. Yeah, take the gum off my balls. Oh, I mean, and we were just like gagging. I was laughing so hard. The look on her face.
Well, I hope they keep Keno around. What Mike and I do, we will, before we go to bed, we will go to the Keno Lounge and buy a multi-race ticket. What you can do is you can fill out a ticket and say, okay, I want to play the next 20 games.
Right.
And we'll like fill out a 4-spot or whatever and play like 20, 40 games, pay the $20-$40 or whatever, and give it to him. And then wake up the next morning, just go back to the lounge and see if we won.
Right. Get your day off to either a good start or a bad start. You either won a bunch of money or lost 40.
Yeah. I can't remember ever winning actually, but you hit one once, didn't you?
I hit one once. It wasn't huge, but I think we've had so luck. I mean, we always got some money back. You played 40 games, you're going to get
right. Maybe a little bit back.
You'll get a little bit back.
And it's not typically that much that we're playing. We're not like throwing, $500 on an overnight Keno or whatever.
$40. Maybe.
Yeah.
The thing about Keno that I like is it's mindless.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's nothing to it.
Yeah.
You just pick your favorite numbers. I kind of vary my numbers a lot, but sometimes I'll pick, numbers that mean something to me, someone's birthday or my mom's birthday or, something like that.
Yeah.
Just to see. And so it doesn't take any skill or anything. And it's kind of fun.
And it is nice that it's at a meal because, when you and I go to Vegas, we're having a good time, but, maybe 1 or 2 days in, we're sitting there having a meal. We have nothing to say to each other.
Right.
Right.
Especially if we're down.
Right. So it's like, okay, there's some distraction here, Keno. Oh, I got 2 numbers.
Yeah.
And at least we have something to do so that we don't have to talk to each other.
Typically I'm down. We sit down at the table without saying a word. I grab the crayon, violently mark my Keno numbers, get a $20 bill out of my wallet, take my $20 bill and my 2 Keno tickets, hold them above my head, and then slam my head against the table and just stand there with the Keno tickets up in the air for the girl to come by and take.
And
you've seen me,
folks. He's not kidding. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of You Can Bet On That. Hey, don't forget to email us. Again, our email address is youcanbetonthat@gmail.com. You can visit our website. It's youcanbetonthat.com. You can check out our show notes and leave comments. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter. Again, we always tweet when we're at a casino or on our way to a casino. And Mike's still looking to give away $20, free $20 pass line bet to somebody who comes up to us and we don't know them. And they say, hey, we heard the podcast. And we're on Facebook. Like us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/YouCanBetOnThat. And please review us on iTunes. If you give us a good review, it'll help us get listeners. And speaking of getting more listeners, tell your friends. If you like the show, tell them, hey, even if you're not into gambling, hopefully we're entertaining enough that
yeah, I try to be.
that people who don't even know gambling might enjoy the show. So tell your friends. All right, Mike, anything else?
No, I think that's it.
All right, very good. We'll see everybody next time.
See ya.